Hi, this is Kirk, the bariatric carnivore. Well, let's talk about the horrors of DEI when it comes to medicine. And DEI does not stand for didn't earn it. It stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is a kind of nice little catch-all phrase. It sounds like, oh, you're just talking about making the playing field level for everybody. No, it doesn't, unfortunately. But the equity word is a very specific term, which means we care about the equity of end results, which means, look, we're going to make sure that 25% of the medical school is going to be a certain group, ethnic group of people. You know, there's going to be so many females, and we don't care about their level of competence. We just want equity of the results to be favorable to whatever the favored group is this particular week. That's terrifying. That is not excellence. I don't care if a medical class is 100% white males, as long as they're the best possible people to be doctors. But that's not what DEI means. And what it really means is a lowering of standards that is going to continue on and on and on as more and more incompetent people get into those type of positions. What does this mean for you? It means, frankly, get the heck out. I mean, if there's ever been a time in history when you really want to get away from the care of a doctor, if you possibly can, this time is now. And if you don't understand why, then let me introduce you to this lady who was, besides the interesting hairstyle, was doing a YouTube video on how anybody could get pregnant. And how dare us only say that women can get pregnant. And I haven't been to med school, but I know this much. People without uteruses do not get pregnant. But apparently that is something that they didn't teach her in medical school, because she's on a rant talking about how, you know, we need to be inclusive for others. I first noticed this back in a little bit before COVID, when the University of Minnesota, their med school was graduating, and they gave them a new Hippocratic Oath, where they were talking about how they were going to be trying to increase the medical care capabilities for indigenous people and people that have been held back and marginalized in society. And frankly, that is a horrible message. I mean, their job should be looking after everybody, regardless of race, creed, color. But that's not how DEI works, unfortunately. There was time during COVID when they talked about, how they needed to prioritize giving the COVID vaccination to people of color because they were marginalized and had more history of more systemic racism. So therefore, they deserved to get the COVID shots before anybody else. That's not right. That is not looking at people as individuals, that is looking at people as groups. And that's unfortunately where medicine is going. And, and it gets even more weird than that. There's over in England recently, the medical society sent out things to their doctors, and it was in the newspaper there, that, they were trying to get doctors to talk to their patients about climate change. Not because doctors are experts on climate change, not that any of them have studied it, but their job was to recite a bunch of government talking points on it because the doctor had a position of credibility, which is a horrible use of that credibility, to talk about something that you are not qualified to talk to them about. And the government wanted them to abuse that credibility and cover government talking points because they had credibility. And if that is not a wake-up call to anybody out there that is taking medical health advice from doctors who are not qualified, frankly, they have not received enough training in terms of diet and nutrition. Very few of them have studied anthropology. Hardly any of them have studied exercise physiology. Very few of them know anything about sleeping. The problem is they are so specialized in their little silo that they don't look at the big picture. And they don't understand how different systems are affecting other different parts. You go to the average cardiologist, and they are going to want to talk to you about cholesterol, but they ain't going to want to talk to you about diabetes because that's not their specialty. But the number one cause of heart attacks is type 2 diabetes and poor metabolic health. The most important thing that they can do to change somebody's health outcome that has a bad heart issue is not to give them a statin, but to get them healthy by putting them on a low-carb diet. But they won't do that because they don't know it. And frankly, that's the horrible problem. We give doctors way too much credibility for stuff that they are unqualified to do. They are fantastic. Believe me, I have tremendous respect for them when it comes to acute injury. When you have been in an auto wreck, when you have a broken leg, when you have a blood clot like I did, they are fantastic at that type of stuff. As far as getting you healthy, they stink. They truly suck pond water. Sorry, that's just the way it is. And we're starting to see some of the fruits of this come out in really weird ways. There's one hospital that wanted to not discriminate against a guy who couldn't hear. And unfortunately, he's giving colonoscopies. And people are waking up and screaming in pain, and he can't hear them. And yet, somehow, in this incredibly brilliant hospital with all these incredibly brilliant people, nobody had enough sense to realize, maybe this could be a problem. And yet he's allowed to operate on people and inflicting tremendous pain. Now his license is up for grabs because the hospital just wasn't paying attention to their patients once again. Frankly, in this fight for your health, you are all alone. You're it. And my best advice to you is get the heck out, get as healthy as you possibly can, learn everything you need to know. Because if you start just changing your diet and you get rid of the ultra-processed food, you're probably about 80% of the way there. And if you really want to get more into it, I've got stuff in here about going low carb, going carnivore, how that can affect your metabolic health, why it makes a difference, why it will take care of almost 90% of all the chronic diseases that are facing you. I mean, if you want to get rid of your type 2 diabetes, get rid of the carbs. It's not that difficult as a concept to understand. And once you understand that concept and you understand metabolic health, you are 90% of the way there to getting out of the medical system. Because frankly, they are not looking after your health. They are now pushing agendas that go way beyond medicine. They're trying to push global climate change. And God forbid if you go to a doctor that looks like this and tell her that you've got guns. Because who knows when the cops are going to show up to take them away, because she's going to think you are potentially violent because you have guns. Not that you might live in an area that might have high crime and you're trying to defend yourself. And if you're in a state where they can put a red flag law on you because you may be high risk simply because you own them, kiss your guns goodbye. Then you got to go to court at some point down the road and hopefully have a rational judge that doesn't feel the same way. And if they're another DEI judge, good luck on that one. Then this is a problem and it's only going to get worse. The only solution is get healthy and get the heck out and really hope that you never have to see a doctor unless there's really something seriously wrong. And I hope that never happens either. This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. If you like this message, please hit the like and subscribe. Join this channel of other like-minded people. Try to get the heck healthy and out of the system. I've got a whole host of different videos on all these different subjects. If you need help trying to find one, drop me a message in the comments below. I read all of them, and I'll be more than glad to direct you in the right direction. I've tried to, and if I don't know it or I know who does, I'll be more than glad to point you in that direction. So just leave a comment below. Please hit the like and subscribe. Share with other like-minded people. It's the only way to grow this channel. Get this message out to more people. Frankly, in this fight for your health, you are all alone, but we can all be alone in this together. I try to put out a couple messages each week. I will talk to you again soon.